So we're going to 56 in Pila Pella. We're back in this old thing. Did you find it? Oh yeah, you did. It's on your face. And I don't want to sit. We gotta do this. So yeah, this is gonna be a little bit like, particularly with the first story on page 56, which is Understanding Newton's Three Laws of Motion. This is gonna feel, for the next few pages, like we're inside of a science book, for sure, okay? But this is our reading comp that we do. And then we found that the stories get a little bit more interesting, kind of some everyday activities and some, oh, I didn't know that kind of stuff. This story right here is going to set us up for the three laws that Sir Isaac Newton gave us. So are y'all on 56?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's a very short unit, just a little break in between our next thing, okay? Now, our next novel is not going to be until after our winter break. But we do have other great reading comprehensions based on classic novels that we will do, okay? But we've got to get back in this, all right? Got to. So this little tiny unit will not take that long. Aiden, can we start with your side? Would you read paragraph 1 for us? We're on page 56 with Understanding Newton's Three Laws of Motion.
Sir Isaac Newton was a scientist and a mathematician. He lived in England from 1642 to 1727. He is known as one of the greatest scientists in history. Probably his greatest contribution to science was study of the three laws of motion. These descriptions of how motion works formed on the basis in modern physics.
Yeah, now as the legend goes, Sir Isaac Newton was sitting underneath an apple tree and discovered gravity when an apple fell on his head. Whether that's true or not, that is the legend. Sir? No. No, we actually need to be able to have airflow in here. Yes, ma'am. When he gets back. Yeah, Callie, could you read paragraph 2? We're going to start with the first law, which is the law of inertia. As a mother of 4 kids, I will tell them about being inert or using inertia with them. For us, it means you just kind of stay and put what you do and get off the screen, put the iPad up. Does your mama ever get on you about that?
Yes.
Screen time?
No, because I never get any except for the TV because I don't have.
Well, I will tell you that they might be in 2nd or 3rd grade, but my kids know what inertia means because it means in our house, being lazy, you not moving, put the iPad up. Okay. So let's start with this one, paragraph 2.
Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest stays at rest.
Like my children. See, I told you. Go ahead.
And an object in motion stays in motion. A moving object moves at a constant speed in a straight line unless it is acted upon by an outside force.
That is one of those that even your parents had to memorize way back in the day. Yeah, an object at rest is going to stay at rest, like my kids on an iPad.
I do.
And an object in motion is going to stay in motion unless it's, acted upon by an outside force. You have to have that memorized the more and more you grow and get into different science books. You possibly have already had that in a science book. And this is a lot like an asteroid. Now, not a meteor. A meteor is an asteroid when it gets into the Earth's gravity, right? But you got an asteroid flying out there. It's going to keep on flying out there until something bumps it, yeah, and takes it off course. It's just going to keep on doing what it's doing, okay? All right, Marshall, paragraph 3, please.
Newton's first law of motion means that until something happens to them, objects are in a state of inertia.
Right.
That is, they keep doing what they're doing. If they're not moving, they will continue to be still. If they are moving, they will continue to move. A billiard ball will sit forever on the cloth-covered surface of the table until an outside force acts upon it. A ball that has been acted upon by a force
some outside force acts upon. That force can be anything from the roughness of a cloth surface to a human hand stopping the ball.
Yeah, and inertia does not just mean you sitting still doing nothing. That's only part of the definition, sitting still and doing nothing. If you're in constant motion, you're going to stay in constant motion until something stops you. Both of those are inertia. Have y'all ever played pool before? They're going to use this as an example for a few pages. Unless you get the cue stick, and billiards is an old-fashioned name. We call it pool now. They're using billiard ball here. Unless you get that cue stick, those balls aren't going to move. Maybe during an earthquake. Yeah, but that's still an outside force. So those balls are going to stay right there until you start playing. And then you hit the white ball. You hopefully hit the right balls on the table you were going for. Once that white ball hits those, they start moving. And then if they hit another ball, guess what? It's going to start moving. Okay? Yes, sir.
Well, that's literally anybody. Anybody and
It's everything. It's everything. It's kind of one of those scientific times where when Sir Isaac Newton, after the time of Shakespeare, right after, 20 years after Shakespeare, discovers it, and we're like, duh, of course. Why didn't anyone ever write that down? Why didn't anyone ever figure that out? But nobody did. No one did. Yeah? Sir,
Like this mask, if I touch it, look, it moves.
you were the outside force on that mask. And you know what else helped that mask? That mask didn't fly at me. It didn't. That mask fell to the ground. Gravity. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Absolutely. I think everyone's back. Now, let's take a look at our citing the evidence over there. Remember these? I know it's been a little bit since Frankenstein. When you're looking it up for information, in a text, the answer to your question might be stated explicitly. Like, oh, here's the answer right there. I see it. It's stated. The opposite of explicitly is it might be inferred. Like, you don't just see the answer right there. You've given some information and you're making your best guess. That's what inferred is. But this time, you're going to be able to point. Boom, there it is. It's stated explicitly. It's right there on the page. Go to paragraph 3. Yes, it's the long one. And circle the definition and example that explains what inertia is. Marshall just read it for us. Gonna circle it. I don't know about y'all, but I'd probably look for the bold printed word inertia. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod. That's what I'm saying. Was that too easy?
Yes.
Did you find it?
Yes.
So tell me that you went to, after the bold printed word, inertia,
Yes.
and what did you find?
That is, they keep doing what they are doing. If they are not moving, they will continue to be still.
Like my kids, and then keep on going. If they're not moving, if they are moving, need my glasses there, they'll continue to move. That's the other half of the inertia definition. Yeah? Exactly. So that pool table, the billiard table, if you will, it's synonymous, pool and billiard. The billiard table has a cloth on it. Yeah, you're not going to find one that looks like a hardwood floor. It's always got a cloth on it. And that soft cloth, it's going to remind you of felt. Yeah? It's going to act as friction so that when you go and hit the ball, now I have seen people hit the balls on a pool table so hard that they do come flying off of the pool table. Yeah? They kind of bounce.
My dad did that.
Right.
An accident.
But when you can control the cue stick that you're playing with, what's going to happen is once you hit the balls, they will come to a slow roll. And that's going to be the friction on that felt-like cloth. And many times with a pool table, it is actually felt that's on top of it. Yes, ma'am.
I was watching AFU with my brothers last night,
Mhm.
and
And there was a video where it was a pool table and they put both of the balls, they knocked together and knocked out a light of them.
Yeah. But, science sometimes in an actual science book can kind of be dry and boring, but if you think about all the everyday science that we actually do, even cooking,
That's science.
it's very much science.
It's cooking.
You're not scrambling an egg. You're denaturing a protein. Scientifically, it's what you're doing. Every time you cook an egg. And I don't care how you like your eggs. Yeah? It's called denaturing a protein. It's all science, particularly cooking day. And baking, forget about it.
It's
That is-
all just measuring.
It is exact measurements, with your materials needed. Then, have you ever followed a recipe before?
Yes.
Okay, so recipes, correct me if I'm wrong.
I thought I did.
You have a list of ingredients, materials needed. Then, have y'all covered the 4 types of sentences?
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to be using some words that you'll know. Then you get maybe a paragraph or 2 or maybe more if it's a very long recipe, right? That's your procedure. And oddly, every single one, you check it out, every single one of those sentences in a recipe, they're all imperative sentences. They're all commands. You understood is the subject. Preheat the oven to 350. Spray the pan with cooking spray. Yeah? Pour the flour. You see what I'm saying? You understood it's a subject. They're all, add this. They're all commands, and that's your procedure. And if you don't follow procedure, you can have the worst cookies. You can have the worst cupcakes. You could do biscuits that don't rise. I've done that.
Oh, I know. And
Well-
said it. Brownies.
Sometimes, girl, I mix up baking soda and baking powder.
Oh,
And
my God,
I'm a
I do
good
too.
cook, but it's a busy house that I cook in. And there was one time where I accidentally did not add the baking powder. And there's some science for you because that's going to add many explosions. Once that baking powder makes contact with the little bit of sugar you put in it, the sugar was the gas. You add heat when you put it in the hot oven, little tiny explosions that makes things like cakes and biscuits rise.
Kind of like pop.
And that's why my biscuits were flat and hard as a rock. And I
You know
had to
something?
start over. So it's all science.
I bet
It's
you
all
have a
science.
ginormous house. I know you do.
Say what?
I know you have a ginormous house.
It doesn't feel like it, but I
A
can
lot of
fit
people.
everyone in it. There's 6. Yeah, well, that's not
Jeez,
kind of
6.
Well, there's 4 children, and then I live there, and my husband. So yeah. Yes, ma'am.
One time
We have
I was
fun.
making a sweet potato pie,
Mm.
and I already bought the pre-baked crust
Sure.
instead of the roll
Only 2
crust.
people live in
And then I was following the recipe, and I put the sweet potatoes in cubes, and I didn't puree it, and then it was like a burnt cube dirty
Right.
pie.
Yeah. And I will tell you, being a Southerner, that sweet potato pie, if you don't get those cubes completely mashed and sweet potatoes have those strings in them that you got to kind of pull out, you can really mess up a sweet potato pie. It's so much easier to soak a pumpkin. But a sweet potato pie, that's masterful if you can get that one down. Yes, sir. And then Tay, get ready.
One time, my brother was cooking waffles, and I was sitting on the counter, my shirt got caught in it, and it almost lit on fire.
And that would be called you being flammable, not inflammable. There is a difference.
That's why I don't trust waffle makers anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't trust
All
them.
right, last 2, and we got to get back. Absolutely, easy peasy, sir. Oh, sure, easy peasy. Now, before Taylor starts reading page 57 for us, part B said to analyze how the information in the text is being presented. This is easy enough, and we can actually just talk about it. Ask yourself, where can I find what I need to know? It says to put a star next to the paragraph that presents that example of inertia. Well, duh, which paragraph were we talking about? The billiard table, the pool table? 3. Best example ever. best
wasn't hard.
example. Yeah, no, that's why I was like, let's just talk about that one. All right, Taylor, would you mind on page 57, 4 is so itty bitty. Would you read 4 and 5?
You can understand the law of
Inertia.
inertia
Mm-hmm.
if you think about a skateboarder stepping off a skateboard that's in motion. The skateboard will continue rolling.
Hey, you know what? We can actually put a star by that one too, because that's a great example. Yeah? Now, I grew up in a skater generation, so when a skater is on a skateboard and basically they eat it, is what you call it. Like the skateboard keeps going and you fall. Yeah,
I did that
best
before.
example ever. So that's a good example. Very good one. All right, Taylor, paragraph 5.
Here's another demonstration of Newton's first law. When the skateboarder jumps off the skateboard that's still in motion, he might notice a funny feeling as through his insides want to keep moving on with the skateboard. Once a person is in motion, his body wants to keep moving forward, even though he has stopped.
Okay, classic examples of that. Let's just take it away from the skateboard, although that was a great example. What if you're in a car, you have to slam on brakes? You keep going. Don't you feel that pressure from the seatbelt?
Yeah.
Yeah? What if you are still in a car and they're particularly going, I remember going to Cardinal Newman, that Trenton Road extension, there's one certain bump, yeah, that you go over, and it kind of makes you feel when you go over it like your stomach has butterflies in it. It was to the point that my kids thought, the little kids, when they would go with me to drop off my oldest son at Cardinal Newman, they wanted me to turn around and go back over that little bump, because that was fun.
You should see my sister's house. It literally goes.
Exactly, but what happened was, we did go up with the car, but our insides kind of still wanted to stay down, and you felt it. going
Oh, that
back in.
happens
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. It's just
They thought it was the best roller coaster ride ever. I don't know. We were talking 4 and 5 years old, so that was a fun ride for them. Yes, ma'am.
When I went to Frankie's Fun Park,
Okay.
there was this big ride I did not want to go on, but my sister and her brothers made me.
Mhm.
And my cousin. My stomach went up. Oh no, Jesus! I started crying like
Oh, exactly.
Something like you go all the way up and then it just drops.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's
that's what we're talking about. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we watched that for, we were going on the little like
It's all
thingies,
science.
and we watched that for so long.
Yeah, it's all science. Callie and then Daniel, get ready.
When I was 4, we went to Disney World, or 3, and there was this old ride named the Tower of Terror.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah, and it was a super large building, and
Oh.
it looked cool like a haunted house, so I wanted to go. And it's a huge elevator with like 20
Oh, it's
feet.
horrible.
Later on, in higher levels of science, I really hope that the book that you're in or the teacher that you have really goes into the science and the engineering that goes into building the proper amusement park. Even a lame one. There's so much science going on there. So much. Yeah? All right, Daniel. Ooh, it's a little bit of a long paragraph. What number is this one, my boo? 6. Could you read that one for us?
When you hit a billiard ball or jump off a moving skateboard, you know the object will continue to move. But why does it eventually start to roll more and more slowly until it stops? Remember that an object will stay in motion until an outside force acts on it.
Yeah.
It may not be obvious, but an external force is causing in both cases friction. Friction is a force that occurs when two things slide against each other and cause resistance. Resistance is something that acts against something else, slowing it down. The friction of the materials on the table stops the billiard ball. The friction of the pavement stops the skateboard. The same principle explained why brakes stop a car. The friction of the brake pads stop the car's spinning wheels.
Yeah, that friction. You know how it is, like on a cold morning like we've been having, thankfully. Yeah, it's been a little different, but it's been pretty cold. Get some friction, you create some energy, some heat, yeah. Yeah, that's what you got. And on those pool tables, those billiard tables, the felt, or if it's super fancy, the velvet on it, that's going to make all of those balls not just want to fly off every time you play pool. Yeah, because otherwise you just got to go, you got to get it, you got to set it back up. Those stop the balls. They actually just start slowing down because once again, you're playing on material. Yeah? Who are we missing there?
He's
Arab. I know about Arab. The thing is, the switcheroo in the class, I'm just trying to get used to where everyone's sitting. But I knew
I'm
about
the new
Arab.
one.
All right, John, take a look and let's finish up this little section, paragraph 7, please.
Another force that causes resistance is gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Gravity is downward force that attracts everything toward the center of the earth. As a water skier is being pulled up a ramp, his or her forward movement encounters the resistance.
Yeah, when that water skier up there in that picture goes up that ramp, yeah, being pulled by a really fast boy, right? That water skier isn't going to keep on going to the moon. Gravity's going to bring that water skier down. And just like with Chance, when he flicks the mask off, it didn't come flying toward my face and smack me. It fell. Boom, gravity. Yeah? Now, why did the pen go farther than the mask? The pen has more mask.
Mask?
Mass. The pen has more mass than the mask. Yeah? It's heavier. There's more to that pen. And the mask just wanted to fly a little bit and then sink. All right, let's take a look at what we got to do. Look at C for citing evidence. Now, this one is to draw an inference. This is going to be your best guess based on the information given when you infer. Ask yourself what you've learned from the text. Then think about your own experience. Underline the sentence in paragraph 5 that helps you infer, make that best guess, how you would feel if you came to a quick stop on your bike. Go to paragraph 5 for that sentence. Coming to a quick stop on your bike. You're looking for a sentence that would tell you how you would feel. But you're not looking for the word bike. You got to make an inference. Which sentence did you find?
I put moving on with the skateboard, which is a person in motion. Like I put, because I'm probably just like once I fell off my bike and I was
Okay.
keep on going after my bike.
Sure. There's another sentence though we should underline. What'd you get, Lily Grace?
When the skateboarder jumps off the skateboard, he's still in motion. He might notice a funny feeling, as though his insides want to keep moving with the skateboard.
Were you on, is that on 5?
Yes.
Oh, I do see that now. That one, okay, yeah, not what the book was going for though. Charlie, what'd you get?
Once the person is in motion, his body wants to keep moving forward even though he has stopped.
Yeah, now that's what the book wanted. Well, here's the deal. If this was a quiz, I don't know that I would mark yours wrong because I get that feeling. Yeah, the book wanted that very last sentence. Okay, that very last sentence. Look, uh-huh.
You sharpen my pencil.
Sure.
Is that another sharpener again?
Well,
I thought you were going to
it's just having to do it. That's strange. Hold on, you know I can hear that, dude. It's trying. It's like you, oh, there we go.
I thought you were going to bring us the Mac sharpener. Oh, you said that
Clark said there's one in
From my house, with all my virtual students at my house, they would hunt me down.
Miss Clark.
Hey, let's go to 58. 58.
Oh,
Who was our last person?
John.
Charlie. Huh?
You didn't do.
No, I don't want to do that one. I want to move on because I'm looking at our time. Yeah?
And it's a little.
We
All
only
right,
have 5
Charlie,
You can
could
also,
you, excuse me, could you read paragraph 8 for us, please?
you can also see the effect of friction and gravity on an object in motion when you think about how an arrow flies. When the taut bowstring is released, the energy transfers into the arrow. The arrow flies swiftly through the air. The energy that comes from the pulled and released string is driving it.
Yeah, now we're going to start really getting into that transference, where you're transferring energy from that tight or taut bowstring into the actual arrow itself, okay? Hey, Rahel, could you read paragraph 9, please?
We imagine air as empty space, but air is actually made up of molecules, just
Right.
as we are. The molecules in air just happen to be spread out very thinly. As the arrow moves through the air, the shaft and feathers encounter resistance in the form of air molecules. The molecules create drag, that is, they impede motion and cause the arrow to slow down.
Right, and really depending on the type of actual, are you going to use feathers at the end of the shaft of a bow? Are you going to have more of a modern kind of cheaper bow, if I could have an opinion there, where it's more of the plastic kind of feathers? That really is going to tell you how fast that bow is going to be able to travel in the conditions where you're practicing your archery. If you've got wind on that day, because typically when you're at an archery tournament, you're going to have flags out that you watch to see if there's wind. Yeah, that's going to have an effect on the drag. Yes, sir, because we got to keep working.
If you like for a bow, if the wind's blowing that way and you fire straight, it's gonna go over there a little bit. But like if it's
True.
right there, it'll go over. But
Right.
So you have to aim to the right a little bit so it'll hit the bullseye.
So that's you watching wind, and then you also have to know there's always going to be gravity, so you always aim up a little bit.
Yeah,
That's like
aim up.
taking a
Always
ball.
aim up a little bit, right? Okay, Lathan, let's go to
10.
paragraph 10. Thank you.
The downward force of gravity is also acting on the arrow. As the force forms, the bowstring gets used up. The the force of gravity takes over. Eventually, gravity creates resistance that pulls the arrow to the earth.
Absolutely, and that's what Chance and I were getting at. Lily Grace, 11. Oh, and it keeps on going. It's actually kind of long. Sorry.
The truth of Newton's first law can be seen most clearly in outer space, where there is no air, no gravity, and no friction. Have you seen pictures of astronauts on their spacewalk? They need to be attached to something, or they will float away. If astronauts leave a tool hanging in space, it will stay put. If the tool gets bumped, it will move away at a steady rate and never stop. It will spin off into space, never be seen again. This is the first law in its pure form. An object in motion will stay in motion there when there is no resistance or no interfere.
Yeah, the first astronauts to land on the moon, there's really not a lot of room in their capsule, you know, even for what they needed to get there. But one of the luxury items that they took was one golf club and some golf balls
Wow.
Why?
to play golf on space, on the moon, in space. And the golf ball just is still going.
And then you hit a golf ball back to earth, and it hits
You
him in the
got-
head.
You gotta look that up. The pictures of that
It would
are amazing. And the moon does have its own gravity, but when you look at the first landing of the moon, the videos that that they took of that, yeah, there's enough gravity, so they do this long hop and go down, long hop. And they did have weights on their boots, so that was helpful for the little bit of gravity compared to what we have here on Earth. That was helpful so that they didn't, you know, fly off into space themselves. But once they hit that golf ball and transferred that energy from the club to the ball, that ball's still going.
What if they let go of that
That
one?
ball's
Unless
still
an
going right
asteroid
now.
maybe bumped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, and then we're going to start, while we're doing this one, y'all need to start answering 1, 2, and 3 on page 59. Yes, sir.
Can you sharpen my
Yes, 1, 2, and 3 on 59. And yes, sir, Aiden? Yeah, no, we can't work in groups. Sorry, that 3 is you all alone.
But it says this is hard.
Oh, no. There we go. Forgot whose it was.
They're dancing.
I know we're not. The camera can't even see me.
Hey, Tay, what were you saying? No, you can't, because work with a partner to explain why friction does not exist in space was made back in the day when there was not a global pandemic.
Oh, I guess you're right.
That was redundant. A pandemic is already global. I saw it. It's all.
Oh,
Now, can I go ahead and tell you what's going to be super helpful for 1 and 2? Read through them all, particularly when you look at multiple choice and it's super wordy like that. Think that the maker of it was trying to trick you. Read through it all. Process of elimination. You just go ahead and assume they're trying to get you when they make all those answers super long, okay? Read through them all. All right, what happened to your pencil? It looks like a dog chewed it. No, Lily Grace, yours. Or it's like there used to be a point. No, when you first gave it to me.
Oh yeah, it broke.
Okay. How are we doing with number 1? Take a look.
good.
It says, which sentence would you cite? We just have been calling that quotes, by the way, the past few days with our Frankenstein papers. Cite and quote mean the same thing. So which sentence would you cite to support an inference, a best guess, that the effect of gravity can be gradual? Easy peasy, gradual. Yes, sir, which one? What'd you say? B. You are right. Eventually, isn't it that word eventually? Eventually, gravity creates resistance that pulls the arrow to the earth. Number 1 is B. Number 2, which sentence from the text explains explicitly, oh, there it is, there's the answer, how friction causes an arrow in flight to slow down. Rahel?
B.
B again. Do you ever worry when it's always the same letter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both B.
So for this one, the molecules create drag. That is, they interfere with motion and they cause the arrow to slow down. So let's talk about 3, because maybe you haven't had time to get to it yet. We can work in our own big old group here. I know. All right, so we want to explain why friction does not exist in space. There's no friction in space. Lily Grace?
There's not much oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, think of an air hockey table. How does the puck stay up air?
Right.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with as many molecules in space as we are here. Yeah? So, yeah, I think the molecules in our air here create that drag, and you just don't have that in space. You don't have really anything to interfere with your motion unless a big, giant, Earth killer asteroid comes along
That's a whole
and
different
hits it. No, they don't call it Earth killer, they call it ELA. Don't they? What is it called? The asteroids that could destroy a planet.
Oh, those little
Dangerous.
dangerous killer.
Scary.
Bagels.
That's what they call them. I think it's No, ELA is what I teach.
Yeah.
And that's scary enough.
Yes.
That's scary. It is. What makes
Extinction level event. It's called an ELE.
Ellie.
It's called scary.
Ellie, that's the name of my
ELE. Extinction level event. That's the name of your next pet.
It's called danger.
ELE.